In this video, we're going to be taking a look at Padme Amidala for the Revenge of the Sith line, and she's figure number 19. So I think this is the only Padme that we got in the Revenge of the Sith line, if I recall correctly. At least in the main line, that is. I don't think there was any deluxe action figures. I don't even think there was a 12-inch action figure of her, as far as I recall. But it's a really good one. I really like this Padme, and it's still one of my favorites in the collection. And it's the only time we've gotten a Padme action figure in this outfit. And it's probably the only time we're ever going to get one. So this is another action figure I've had in my collection for over 18 years now at this point. I'm pretty sure I didn't get her until after the movie premiered, though. So it was probably sometime around maybe end of May, June, maybe even July of 2005. And she's been in my collection for 18 years now, so she holds a special place in my heart as well, like the Anakin I reviewed previously. And she's in really good shape. She's held up really well over the years. The blaster she's holding there, that's actually not the original. I lost that years ago, and then I ended up finding one on eBay that someone was selling for like $1 or two, so I ended up going ahead and getting that and replacing it. But she's as good as new, and everything else is original parts about her. So again, there's the package for the Revenge of the Sith line. That's not Padme's packaging, that's just the background I'm using. And she also did come with one of the standard pamphlets that we've gotten with every single Revenge of the Sith action figure. So if you want to see more about those, you can check out the Polis Master review that I did previously, or even the Anakin one. So let's just go ahead and dive into the Padme action figure here. So I think the head sculpt is pretty good on her. It's not 100% accurate to Natalie Portman, but it's pretty close. And even if it's not accurate, I still think it's pretty good. Looks very feminine, especially during a time when Hasbro didn't do the best of jobs on female head sculpts, so I think this one still holds up really well. So obviously this is the scene where Padme confronts Anakin about turning to the dark side, and he ends up choking her out. And I think Hasbro, they were very creative with this action figure. They went out of their way to make her outfit to make it look like she's pregnant a little bit. So you can see she has a little bit of a bulge around her tummy there. It's not perfect, and underneath it's just a flat action figure, but I think it's a nice effort on their part to try and make it look like she is pregnant. So, nice detailing in her outfit. It's mostly just tans and browns, and then she does have brown boots. And she doesn't hold her blaster too well, so we'll just take that off for a moment. Take her off her stand. Braided hair. And this is a very good soft goods as well. It's a very thick material. It doesn't feel like it's going to fray. Well, obviously it doesn't fray. If it was going to fray, it probably would have by now after all these years. So in terms of articulation, she does have a ball joint in the neck. Pretty good range of motion, even with the long braid there. Still has a pretty good range of motion. She does have hinged shoulders. Then she does have more of a swivel bicep, at least there, and then this is more of a swivel elbow, I suppose. But you can't really get much out of that swivel elbow because she just doesn't have much of an angle that her arm can move. So her elbow articulation can't really do a whole lot. She does have a swivel wrist there, and a swivel wrist there as well. She does have a swivel waist, or just slightly above the waist there. She does have swivel hips and hinged knees, no articulation in the ankles. So the articulation's pretty much good enough to get the point across. It's not perfect. I think it would have been better if she had a little bit better elbow articulation. But you can get her in most poses that you could want her in. So as far as accessories, she just comes with the standard Naboo blaster that we've gotten with so many Padme action figures over the years. You've probably seen this on many occasions before, so really no need to explain this one any more than it is. And she holds it all right in both hands. It's kind of loose, so be careful with that. And she also comes with a Mustafar display stand there. So you can see they painted some lava in the rocks there. It's a very charred black, a little bit of a stand there. And I did mention that the Polis Masson stand, which I do have here as well, I'm pretty sure that's about the same exact thing, just repainted. And I like these stands. As far as I know, you can't really connect any of them together as much as they look like they could. And I especially like those Mustafar stands. They're really nice. But there's a lot you can do with this Padme. I mean, you can always reenact that very sad scene where Anakin does this thing to her. So you can definitely use her for some dioramas. And if you have the Mustafar playset, that volcano that we got back in 2005, you can utilize her for that as well. I used to have that playset, and I wish I still had it. Unfortunately, I got rid of it years ago. But I might reacquire it at some point. It is a fairly affordable playset, actually. You could probably get one brand new for $100 even. So not too bad for a almost 20-year-old playset. So I might get it again at some point. But she does stand on her stand pretty good here. Other than that, I think that's all I can really tell you about this Padme. Would I recommend it for your collection? I totally would. I still think it's one of the best Padmes we've ever gotten, the 3 3/4 inch line. Of course, we've gotten so many Padmes over the years, not in recent years, unfortunately. In fact, we don't really have a normal Padme Amidala in the TVC line. Of course, we have the peasant disguise one that I have reviewed on the channel, but as far as like just a basic Padme Amidala where she doesn't have a headdress or any extravagant clothing on her, we don't really have that, and we haven't gotten one in over 10 years now at this point, really. So hopefully Hasbro decides to make one at some point. I think this would be a great contender to get in the TVC line in this outfit. So we'll see. I'm not holding my breath though at this point. Hasbro, it's very hit or miss, and the fact they neglected Padme for this long, I don't really see us getting maybe at best the Geonosis Padme, not the one with the cut up shirt, of course, because probably goes against Hasbro's policies, but it'll probably be when they initially land on Geonosis. So I could see that one getting made at some point, but that'd probably be it. So this one here is probably the only opportunity you're going to get this type of Padme if you really want one for your collection. And she is pretty easy to get a hold of as well. You could probably find one brand new $5 to $10 range, like most of the Revenge of the Sith action figures. And you know, I will say one thing. The last few Revenge of the Sith action figures I've reviewed, I've mentioned you can find most of them pretty easily in the $5 to $10 range. And it reminds me of how fun collecting used to be. I mean, there's no worry, oh, am I going to be able to find this action figure? Oh, am I going to have to pay through the roof for it? You have none of this worry with any of the Revenge of the Sith action figures, and a lot of the other lines as well, and like the Saga collection and the Saga line. It seemed like probably starting around the 30th anniversary line is when action figures started skyrocketing in prices and having some rarity behind it. But even these Revenge of the Sith action figures are fun to collect. There's lots of cool characters. All the main characters in that line look good enough to get the point across, and you can tell, like, yes, this is Padme, or yes, that's Anakin, or that's Obi-Wan, or that's Count Dooku. And they're fairly inexpensive, where you can get dozens of them for $100 even, instead of just buying one for $100. So it reminds me of how fun Star Wars action figure collecting used to be, and in some ways it's kind of a shame to see what it's become, where now we're paying $20 retail for just one action figure, and then if you don't get it immediately, there's a good chance you're not going to get it at all, and I think that just kind of takes a lot of the joy out of collecting. And it's not feasible for the average person or someone just starting out. It's like, why am I going to go out and spend $100 for this action figure, especially when I have really next to no attachment to it? While it's like the Revenge of the Sith line, if you're just a casual collector and you may have saw the movie once or twice and it's like, I really thought a lot of that character, you can just go to the store basically and pick one up for a couple dollars. So that's my thoughts on that subject. And then, of course, like I mentioned, I highly recommend this Padme for your collection if you don't have one already. So anyways, that concludes this review. I hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for more reviews in the future. We'll be playing more to come. And if you haven't already, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. I greatly appreciate your support. Check out some of the links in the description as well. And thanks for watching.